The report that I've asked the employees to prepare was, I wanted them to give you numbers of the cases that we are seeing in the judicial branch. You'll see we start off with the juvenile probation. States that there's 63 case files in juvenile court from July, August, and September of 2016. 32 of those cases were placed in an informal adjustment agreement. 8 guardian juveniles have agreed but have yet to do their informal adjustment agreements. So that's 40 of 63. 1 juvenile is currently in treatment. I believe she's in a long-term treatment facility. 25 of those cases are drug and alcohol related. So you see almost about 50% of about 47% of our kids that are in the system are drug and alcohol related. 6 juveniles are currently in detention and awaiting hearings. One of the issues that I know with our juvenile court, according to the Crow Law and Order Code, is that our confidentiality is an issue pertaining to if a parent has a child in jail in Busby, they can't come to the court and ask for any information. So if your child ends up in jail, they come to the court, they can't give them any information whatsoever. According to the Crow Law and Order Code, BIA has to contact the parents, but a good portion of those parents aren't being contacted. So if they're looking for a missing child, they won't know that their child is in jail unless they go to the Busby jail and look for them themselves. They have to be in person. They can't make a phone call. So that's just an issue that we have with our juveniles, serving the parents. Then we go off to our short-term probation. Howard Sheen is the probation officer, and you'll see his numbers from July, August, and September. Right now, the judicial branch is actively seeking a drug court grant so that we can serve the people who are on methamphetamine mainly. I want to, Judge Carey and myself are concerned about the meth use. My first day of, I contracted for 2 days before I was actually before I was actually made a candidate for the position of the court administrator position. And while I was sitting at the front desk, I noticed that all throughout the day we were getting parents who were visibly on methamphetamines coming in to sign their children, sign guardianship off to somebody in their family. And I noticed right away that it would, not only does it affect the people who are using the methamphetamines, they don't realize it, but they're just signing their kids away. There was probably 10 of them just the first day that I was there, and a good 5 or 6 that were picking up paperwork and getting ready, inquiring about signing over guardianship. So that was a huge issue for me. So that's why we're seeking a drug court. The next page you'll see the civil caseload. So you'll see that there were 5 child custody hearings, 2 in August and 3 in September, totaling 10 in 3 months. Along with that, on the back page on the juvenile cases, you'll see that there was 1 adoption that actually went through in July. There was also She doesn't have guardianship on here. But that methamphetamine use in the community or on the reservation has affected the children. Okay, unlawful possession of intoxicating substances by children. It's down almost in the middle of youth in need of supervision. There was 9 cases in July, 23 in August, and 5 in September. So going along with those numbers was another reason why I think it's really important to have a drug court.
Excuse me, guys, if just give me a report, you guys can kind of keep it down in that corner.
Thank you. So this is just a real rough overview, well, not a rough overview, they're actual numbers that we've dealt with over the last 3 months. There's some other things that are happening within our branch that are pretty excited, that we're excited about anyway. We're going to be removing our flooring and having new flooring put in. There's has to do with asbestos. We are also able to purchase a vehicle through some of our carryover. So we'll be purchasing a Tahoe so that we can transport, make sure that we have our jury duty put into place. One of the things that we would like to see is an updated CLOC for our branch. And I know that it's the legislative responsibility to make sure that that is done. The law and order code that we have in our office, that we have on our website, is from 2005. So if you guys could push that, that would be great, because there are some things in there that we're not compliant because we don't have an updated pro law and order code. Let me see. I think that's probably about all I have for now. Is there anybody who have any questions? Okay.
Thank you. Secretary Body. These juveniles, when they're in treatment, where do they go? We got this one juvenile prison in treatment.
I can't remember the name of the treatment center right off the top of my head. She's in Wyoming. She's at a long-term treatment facility at the request of her parents. She's also I know that this particular youth has also walked away from that treatment facility and ended up turning herself back in because she knew that that was a place that she needed to be. I think hers has more to do with behavior. I know that there is some alcohol and drug issues there also, but she can't remember the name of it right off the top of my head. No, it's CDC, Chemical Dependency, Montana CDC. Is it in Butte? I don't have like specific information, but working with in the psychiatric ward, it was information that I kind of remembered. So it's either in Butte, but I thought it was in Wyoming, the way that the mom was talking about it.
Yeah, a question.
Okay.
Okay, so the confidentiality part of minors, how can that be fixed or addressed? Because a parent does have a right to know where their child is, right?
It's the judicial branch's responsibility to interpret the law, and it's the legislative's duty to create law. In the CLOC, I can't remember what title it is, but it states that it's in the Law and Order Code. So I think the judicial branch committee, the judicial committee, would have to sponsor that, a change in that particular law.
So it
We
needs to
can't.
be changed. So when they take a minor child, the parent, nobody even knows where that child is. And it doesn't seem right to me.
No,
If a kid in Billings is taken away, the whole world almost knows,
yeah,
you know, but our own children, that don't seem right.
it isn't. It's one of the issues that we have. One of my main concerns. If I had a child in jail and I didn't know where they were at, and you know, I'm financially strapped, it's kind of hard just to drive to Busby just to see if they're there. Either that or have somebody speak with BIA to make sure that they are contacting the parents when they process the juvenile.
Don, she has a question back there.
Go ahead.
Is this on? Okay, all right. You mentioned applying for drug court funding.
Mm-hmm.
Is that in the works right now?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
There's an actual grant that is due December 12th.
Okay. Is that under the C-test?
It's under SHAMSA.
Is that SAMHSA?
Yeah.
Okay. There's some other grants that are available, and you might be aware under the C-test program.
Okay.
And that stands for the Coordinated Tribal Assistance Solicitation, and those are due in March of every year. And that will give you the Tribal Healing to Wellness Courts for both adult and juvenile. It'll give you a Tribal Youth Program, and something for detention. So there's like probably 13 purpose areas that are directed at law and order. And courts. So, and we might already have some of those. So that was one of the questions I had. You know, who's writing these grants, and are we going after the big one there? And so, what it is because it's coordinated, you can submit one application.
Okay.
And then for each purpose area, you would put in your justifications for what you're asking for. And it's a pretty streamlined process. I know that RJS and Associates out of Rocky Boy has a really high track record for getting those. And of course, you have to contract with them to actually write the grant, but I'd have to say 99% of the time they do get them. And if you look at their website or their Facebook page, you'll see that they're writing grants for all the tribes. And they've been receiving a lot in the area of law and order and justice. I think for colleges and education as well. So they just got some in for, of course, a lot for Rocky Boyd and for Fort Peck and Fort Belknap. So I've been watching that happen, and I know they got some for Browning too. So they are very well in tune with how the C-test process works. So that's available. but because there's the question comes up of juveniles and providing assistance and resources for them, and I know that solicitation provides a lot, so I'm looking into that. And I wasn't aware if your tribal probation officer did inform you that we are working on some parts of that code already, and so we'll probably be having a committee meeting in the near future reviewing his recommendations, but if there's an issue with that confidentiality portion, we need to know, what part needs to be amended. So he could probably communicate that to us.
Okay.
And we'll just include it with what we're working on right now.
Okay.
So, I was visiting with our legal assistant Leslie, and we thought that maybe what would also help with the confidentiality issues, maybe you could seek some training and have the people that are involved at the table with regards to how to develop a protocol for when juveniles go to detention. Another area that the court can optimize on with regards to training is the U.S. Attorney's Office. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. They provide all the free trainings to tribal governments and courts. An issue of, so like if HIPAA is an issue there or confidentiality, I'm sure they could come out and provide that free of charge. And usually you ask your local U.S. attorney and they'll get you on the schedule. So there's a lot of assistance out there, and as you develop in your position, you'll see a lot. There's a lot free that's available to you. So I just wanted to learn that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Senator Hill.
Secretary, I guess my question would be on your drug court, basically writing grant and stuff like that. We don't have tribal drug court in our law and order code right now. Am I correct? And so, I had 60 to 70 meetings during the springtime over stuff in that area of drug court.
60 to 70?
Yeah. And I only got one quorum one time. A lot of those meetings were informal.
Okay.
And so, anyway, or I couldn't get quorum. I couldn't get 6 or 5 or whatever the number was. So I guess my question would be, what would we, on our side, as I guess you need law, maybe is it tied into a grant that you need law for a drug court, or you guys, or how does that go?
That would be a question that I'd have to ask our lawyer to make sure. I do know that in the past we've had a healing to wellness court for our juveniles. So it's kind of something that we've already implemented. It would just be an expansion of that actual court, and it's a 638 grant, or it's part of our 638 contract that we provide those services. So part of that, what they did in the past with the juvenile healing to wellness court was they would take the juveniles that were their cases were tied with drugs and alcohol. They would take them out and give them equine therapy. So they would go out and ride around on horses, do whatever they did with that program. Since that person left the position, they weren't, that position wasn't refilled. I think it went through a series of transition, but that money is still there. It's not very much at all, but that money is still there for us. I think what we would need to do is expand that into the adults, is what I'm mainly concerned about right now. I believe that juvenile healing to wellness court is important, and like what she was talking about, we can go for a big grant so that we can serve all people. This particular grant is just an expansion to serve the adults. It's not to serve juveniles, and it's not to serve families either, which is where my heart is at, actually. Because it's just heartbreaking to see grandparents who can barely walk come in and trying to take over guardianship of little tiny toddlers. So, I don't know, did that answer your question?
Yes, I guess, so, Mr. Senator Reelbert asked a question there, I'm much obliged if you can give your email to our legal here.
Okay. Do you have a business card?
And so we can email you when we have these judicial meetings.
Okay, that
So
would be
that
good.
you can give your input. So, thanks.
Thank you.
I got one question on the detention. I don't know where are where are the inmates going a lot right now? Are you aware of where are they sending them? I know they're sending them to different location, and what's the status of the contract? I heard it's renewed on Hardin, or where are we at sitting on that?
We haven't spoken to anybody specifically. I know that Judge Carey knew that there was a meeting in DC where they stated that they were going to be opening up the Two Rivers, and they're just going to be contracting with the Crow Nation so that we have our inmates there. Right now, we currently have people all over, actually. We've got them in Langdale, we've got them in Oklahoma. I know that there's some in Wyoming. They're all over the place. I think there's like 6 or 7 different places where our prisoners are being held at the moment. And a lot of that has to do with the building. Our jail here in Crow needs new electrical and new plumbing. And it's been considered, it's been found to be, what do they call it? Condemned at the moment. So until that's fixed, and that's, I believe, BIA's responsibility. So.
Somebody wrote
Just, thank you. Yeah, I attended that meeting with BIA, over Two Rivers. They stated that within 60 days they should have some prisoners there in Two Rivers because they're looking at a 20-year contract. So they'll be hiring more detention officers. I think 17 detention officers. They'll get the old ones back, and I think they're trying to at least get 120 in there as soon as they can, and then just expand from there. But they said 60 days from, October 1st, I think, right around October, so right around December they should be operating that building. But they're in negotiations with the contract with Two Rivers for a 20-year contract.
Any more questions for judicial? Yeah, I have a question. Okay. Senator, good luck there.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Yes, my question would be, was there ever talk about maybe building one here instead of two rivers? Was there ever discussion about that?
I have no knowledge of a conversation. I think it would be good to have have our own building, but that would be something that BIA or even I don't know if it would be the judicial branch or the legislative branch to go to Washington DC and so that represent the Crow Nation and have new buildings built. But that's the way to go about it for Washington DC and representation solicit.
I got one more. Budget. I don't see nothing for budget-wise on judicial branch in this report. How are you guys doing within your? You guys probably got some cuts, I know also within the judicial branch, and how's that affecting?
When I came for the budget meeting, I gave everybody a budget for us, for our branch. Inside there, I included the 638 in the general fund budget. For the last 4 years, from what I understand, we've gone through like 7 court administrators in 4 years. Actually, 3 years. 2 of them were interim employees that actually work for our branch right now. Some of them were not very qualified for the position. Some of them, for the most part, we were kept in the dark about our finances for a long time. The judicial branch was operating like we were completely broke. There were about 3 out of the 4 years where we didn't have printers. Everybody shared one printer. It was very hard to get supplies. It was very hard to get our APs paid. So they just operated like that. They just continued to operate. Since I came on board, I found out that we had an excess of almost $583,000 that we hadn't spent just for this fiscal year 16. So we had a lot of 638 carryover and general fund that we hadn't spent. I think it was like something like $400 and something thousand in the general fund. So when we got that cut, mind you, we weren't able to give a lot of the services that we should have been giving. We should have been providing guardian ad litems. We should have been providing the drug and healing wellness court. We should have had a traffic court. We should have done, there were quite a few things. They didn't have any idea what the budget looked like. The accountant at the time was the one who was preparing the budgets, and within those budgets, we got a grant to replace our doors. We also got a grant to upgrade our computer systems, which did happen this last year. But there were quite a few things that we hadn't been able to provide because it was such a hard process. Now I think I've kind of broke down that door and that barrier there. So now we're budgeted down to the T, where before we had a $431,000 miscellaneous line item in the general fund, and now it's cut down to $4,000. The way that I did that is a lot of our employees had been paid at a rate that was back from 2001. Some of them, I think since 2005, I had one employee only get 2 50-cent raises during that time. So I brought them through the Montana labor industry and also the occupational outlook handbook for the federal government. I also researched other courts in our area, Yellowstone County, Bighorn County, and I brought our pay up to par. I don't know if you guys know, but our turnover before I came on was very, we lose people all the time. I think I have like 30 files just in 4 years where people were, it was kind of like a revolving door. We couldn't get people to come and work for the judicial branch and stay at the judicial branch. So I brought everybody's pay back up to a median, not anything extravagant, not anything low, but a median pay for those comparable positions throughout Bighorn County, Yellowstone County, state of Montana, and the United States government.
More questions? Somebody here?
I apologize for coming in late. Thank you, Secretary. I did get the part of how the pathogens do it.
Oh, okay. Our appellate judge, Joey Jane, she has come in, I think 2 or 3 weeks so far since I've been on, since September 2nd. She has heard 1 case so far. Right now I have an administrative assistant that I have borrowed to her to go through all of the appeals files for the last 10 to 15 years, to log them and make sure that they have decisions. We found some files that need to be updated. So it's in the process, but she's working. I get emails from her on a daily basis, so she's up and running. I know that she was here the week of September 20th, and also October 7th, and I believe she'll be here next week, the 27th also. And I believe she came to the legislature last week, didn't she? Yeah, she came last week, so. We've yet to figure out a clerk for her and how we're going to do that. Last year they had 3 cases, the year before they had 4. So we're not too sure exactly if we're going to hire somebody part-time. If, we have budgeted $15,000 for a grant or for a contract clerk to come in and work intermittently. But she's foreseen, just while we're in the process of getting her set up completely, we might need to hire somebody, so something we gotta work on.
So we got 4 more questions. If that, we'll conclude the judicial branch report. And I'd like to thank you for coming in and just giving us an update on what's going on over there. Tell Chief Judge we're running next time too.
Okay, he's in Riverton right now, so.
All right.
Well, thank you
Thanks.
very much, and I appreciate you accommodating.
I think, any word on price? We're on the agenda, we're at old business, and first one on the agenda is the Solid Inc., I believe, and we got quorum right now, so we're just waiting on, it's in Bryce's committee, he's the chairman of that, so we're waiting on the chairman of the committee, and then we can elect a pro temp if we have to, and just move forward with this old business, so let's take a 10-minute break, and don't leave, we got quorum.